G'day there guys, Connor here again, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get straight to the stories. Okay, this story was posted on a couple different subreddits, including True Off My Chest and Am I the A-Hole. It was written by user Kittens in Chains, and it's titled, Am I the A-Hole for not allowing my dad to see his grandchild for Christmas? Hello, here is my current dilemma. My 30 female dad, 57, invited us for Christmas this year, and usually this has not been a problem for us to attend since he only lived 1 hour away. But he just bought a new house, which is 3 hours away by car, which turns out to be a bit of an issue for us for the following reasons. We have a 15-month-old son, and last time we visited my dad for a day trip, my son was inconsolable the entire way, just wanting to get out of his car seat. This means another 6 hours to look forward to driving back and forward to my dad's house, and just thinking about that makes me stressed out for my son. We do not have a car. We live in a city that doesn't require it, and we bike and take public transport. This means we will have to rent a car to get there, which is incredibly expensive in our country. We do not have a travel bed for my son, who still needs to sleep in a crib for safety reasons. My dad does not have a crib in his house. This means we need to go out and buy a crib just to use that one time in my dad's house. As a solution, I offered that we could celebrate Christmas at our place, but my dad, who has a car and no small children, refuses without giving any reasons. I've told my dad that for my son's sake and for our sanity's sake, we cannot attend Christmas in his house this year. This has left him very upset, claiming that I'm keeping his grandchild from him and that families should stay together at Christmas. Just for info, in my country, Christmas and opening presents is in the evening, which is why we would have to stay for the night. Am I the a-hole? Nobody's keeping you from your grandchildren, bro. Just get in your car and drive to them. Can't be that hard. Not the a-hole for mine. Let's look at the comments. No one is keeping your grandchild from you. You are choosing not to come visit. If your grandson was a priority for you, you would make the trip. OP, this is what you need to say to him. He should come to you. He has no excuse. Your dad is being an ass. My daughter used to come to our house on Christmas. Then they moved an hour away, so now I go to them. This way their kids get to stay at home playing with their new toys. They don't have to pack up diaper bags, put kids in car seats, and I don't have to clean up a house when they leave. It's a win-win. Quote, as a solution, I offered that we could celebrate Christmas at our place, but my dad, who has a car and no small children, refuses without giving any reasons. So, family matters, but only when it's on his terms. F that noise. You're not allowing him to see your kid for Christmas. He's allowed to see the kid for Christmas, he just won't because he doesn't want to make that 6-hour trip either. Not the a-hole. Okay, Opie makes a separate background post 3.5 months later. It's titled, Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my parents' reaction to me being SA'd as a child? When I was 6 to 11 years old, I was SA'd by my maternal grandfather. I never told my parents while it was going on, since I simply did not understand what was going on and I didn't know it was wrong. It was never intercourse, but a lot of inappropriate touching, mostly him telling me to touch his private parts. At least, that is what I remember. It all stopped when my grandfather died when I was 11. I kept what happened a secret to my family for a long time. I think it was a mix of shame and fear that kept me from saying the truth. But when I turned 16, I finally gathered up the courage and told them. I told my mum first, as she was always the one I could talk to about sensitive subjects. But to my shock and dismay, her first reaction was disbelief. She simply could not understand how her dad, who was a well-loved figure in our family, could do such a thing. He never abused me, she said. She always told me she would talk to my dad about it, so I assumed she did. Fast forward 3 weeks after, I bring what happened up in a conversation with my dad, and he is immediately shocked. Turns out, my mum never told him. This progresses into a fight between my parents, and after that day, it was never spoken of again. My mum later passed away from cancer. I brought the whole situation up with my dad the other day. I told him that I was disappointed in them as parents, and how I felt as if they failed me. I told him that if this was my child, I would have at least talked to them, and most likely gotten a therapist involved. My dad told me that I never expressed a need for a therapist, so he did not know that I needed one. And I told him that was a child and had no idea what I needed, and that my parents should have guided me. So, am I the a-hole for being angry at my parents, even though I did not express a need for help? Wow, what? I gotta be honest, I did not expect it to go there after the Christmas story. But geez, Opie's family just sounds worse and worse the more I'm learning about them, particularly the father here. What do you mean a child never expressed a need for a therapist? Of course they didn't. Any parent with half a brain cell would take initiative here. That is, if they actually cared about their kid. I'm starting to think the father doesn't. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry that happened to you and that they handled it so abysmally. I never came out and told my mum that it was her father who did it to me because I know she wouldn't believe me and I knew that would make me furious. I told her I knew something bad happened, that someone hurt me. I begged her to talk to me about it. She stonewalled. Nothing. She knew nothing and it was so obvious she was upset and lying. I gave up. I accept that she's never going to give me the truth or the support I needed from her. Just my experience. Some people are incapable of giving you the support that you need. My mum's old family friend's daughter did things to me. She was only 2 years older, but still. And when I told my mum, she just didn't say anything. I then said, "Aren't you going to say anything?" And she said, "Well, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to talk to her?" I don't know. You could at least pretend to give a crap. Yep, been there. The woman who watched me and my sister after school, her son, 12 years old, assaulted me for 3 years from the ages of 3 to 6. I wouldn't have said anything, only I found out he started on my sister too, when she said something strange one day. I then told my parents and his mum, and everyone basically swept it under the rug and never talked about it again. He wasn't allowed alone with us, but we still had to go to his mother's house after school, and my mum even made us visit a few years after we moved away. It was only recently, at 31, that she said she wasn't sure if what we said was true, since it was only one time, that it wasn't a big deal. I was like, what the hell are you on about? It was 3 years for me, and probably a while for my sister too. She just seemed to have blocked it out. I don't think my dad even remembers. Makes you really realise how your parents are just other effed up people too. Sheesh, sorry folks, if you think the story's depressing enough, then the comments are doing their best to one-up that. But more than anything, man, it just makes you angry, doesn't it? Okay, now for another post on True Off My Chest. It's titled, I told my dad to never speak to me again the day my son died. My son of 32 weeks passed away very recently. We knew it was going to happen, so we invited our closest family to say goodbye to him at the hospital. I've always had a very difficult relationship with my dad, but I decided that this was an important thing for him to be a part of. I also needed someone who could take care of our 3-year-old son at home while we were at the hospital, and I was giving birth to our stillborn son. He calls me the day before he arrives, asking when I expect to give birth. I tell him that I do not know exactly, since the birth is induced and it can take anywhere between hours to days for my body to react to the medication. He responds, "Well, I need to let my work know how long I'll be away, so I need a better time frame than that." I repeat myself as I literally do not know when I'll go into labour, but he keeps pressing me for a more precise answer with quotes like, "The hospital must know, just ask a doctor, they'll know," etc. In the end, my husband has to grab the phone and tell my dad to figure it out with his work. My dad then arrives with his girlfriend and is throughout the entire day extremely visibly distraught. I think to myself, wow, he really cares, and I feel incredibly bad for him. But I also notice some strange behaviour from him. Throughout the 3 hours he was there, he just places himself in a corner in a complete zombie state. He doesn't once console me or my husband. He doesn't once take the initiative to go for a walk with our 3-year-old son or talk to him. He just sits there without a single word. And I have to handle my son while I'm also trying to arrange paperwork with the hospital about my stillborn baby. The only thing my dad tells me that day is, "You should probably go home to 3-year-old. He is very confused and he needs you." At this point, I'd just given birth to my son 3 hours prior, and prior to that had been hospitalized for bleeding. My dad then ends up walking out of the room and taking the elevator down. My husband, being a bit worried about him, follows and asks him what's going on. My dad then looks at him and says, "My girlfriend and I broke up." My husband doesn't react much with other than telling him he's sorry. My husband also decides to keep it from me for the time being because I'm dealing with enough grief at that point. Later in the day, we all return home. My dad still sitting motionless on the couch, staring into the room. His girlfriend gets up to use the bathroom, and then he turns to me with tears in his eyes and drops the bomb on me as well. We broke up, but I don't want to talk about it right now. Clearly, he was trying to keep this announcement a secret from his now ex since he waited to tell me until she left the room. In that moment, I can't take it anymore. I glare at him and tell him, I cannot handle this right now and I think you need to leave. Don't contact me. I needed my dad that day. My mum passed away some time ago and my husband's parents live halfway across the world. I needed my dad more than I'd ever needed him. And instead of embracing me, telling me he loves me, telling me he loves our son, comforting me, he is lost in his own grief over his frickin' breakup. I don't even know if a single tear that day was shed for my son. At the same time, I can't help but feel bad for him, but couldn't he have waited a couple days to tell me about this? Why did I need to know it on that day? I'm probably just an a-hole, I really don't know, but I needed to vent it out. Update, my dad called today 4 times. I did not want to talk to him, so I asked my husband if he could do it. I was genuinely afraid something had happened. My dad used 30 seconds on asking how we are. The conversation then immediately turned into him complaining about his now ex. When he started telling my husband about how he's already signed up for a dating site because now he needs to find a new girlfriend, he hung up. My dad called my grandmother and complained about how difficult I was being during his visit at the hospital because I didn't ask why he was so sad. I have blocked my dad from every possible contact, and I will never let him near my family again. God, what a selfish prick. Some final comments. Heartbreaking. I think the decision you made to ask for space was 100% justified and should have no time limit. I'm so sorry for your loss. Why did your dad bring his ex-girlfriend, and why couldn't he suck it up for 24 hours to be there for his daughter? He sounds like a teenager. I would definitely take some space. Maybe write a letter and send it to him explaining why you don't want contact. If they broke up, why did they come to the hospital together? Opie says, I ask myself the same question. Probably because the ex has a heart and wanted to be there for you in a small way. She replies, perhaps. She is genuinely a really sweet person, and she's been there for my son more than my dad ever has, so it could be her wanting to be there and support us. Pretty telling when the ex-girlfriend shows more compassion to the situation than the father does. Anyway guys, that's it for that story. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a downer. Anyway, we're moving on regardless. Okay, this next one was posted on the non-monogamy subreddit. It was written by user PerfectPatient121, and it's titled, Need advice, breaking up while my girlfriend is away with her other partner. Hello, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I need your help figuring out the ethical way to end a long-term ENM relationship, or non-monogamous relationship. For some background, my girlfriend, 28, and I, 28 male, have been together for about 6 years. We talked about opening during lockdown, but only started acting on it when it was safe again. The first 2 years were basically one-sided, with me not having any success while she kept meeting new people. I had a lot of emotional work to do, but eventually I worked on myself and managed a few flings of my own. Dating became her main social outlet, and she pushed for poly, which created a lot of resentment on my side. To her credit, I kept it to myself, so that's on me. A year ago, I met an amazing woman, 25, through a shared hobby and had an immediate connection. She was just out of a serious relationship, so being a secondary, I hate that term, worked for her until she was ready to start looking for a new mono relationship. I did not expect the jealousy from my girlfriend at that new connection. I feel like I've put up with a lot from her, constant dating, and the first time I have something more serious, she melts down. About a month ago, my new partner admitted that she'd been interested in going mono with me, which I did not give a solid answer to or disclose to my girlfriend. Friday evening, my girlfriend left for a week away with one of her main partners, 33. It was planned and happened before, but seeing her leave really broke the emotional dam for me. I don't think I'm made for poly or ENM. I've started moving my things to my parents' home over the weekend and agreed to be mono with my new partner. I am spiraling a bit. Both my parents and my new partner think I should tell my girlfriend and not have to find out when she comes back. I think it's better not to ruin her vacation and to have a clean break afterwards. My reasoning is that she won't be alone. She has all her partners to help her out. Also, I'll pay my share of the rent while she looks for a new apartment if she'd rather not keep our current place. What would you rather have me do if you were in my girlfriend's shoes? I'm sorry if the post is a bit all over the place. Nah, I think that's fair. Wait for her to get back from holiday, let her know, and, deal with it from there. And the reasoning's fair enough. Not everyone's cut out for the whole non-monogamy thing. I know I'm not. Let's go to the comments. My ex-spouse told my meta before me that they didn't love me anymore. Honestly, it felt worse than the breakup. Please tell her soon. You've already told everyone else close to you. Your soon-to-be ex should not have been the last to know. OP says, I only told my parents because I'll be crashing with them and my new partner. None of our mutuals know. Not sure if it's right or wrong, but like you, I'd probably wait until she's back from her vacation. Either way, you're going to give her the bad news. Might as well let her enjoy her vacation, or at the very least prevent her from using that as a justification for further blame. And on the topic of how often they call each other, one comment says, beyond the fact that some vacations may include unreliable cell signal or jam-packed days or time zone differences that may make communication difficult to plan for, every relationship is different. I don't talk to one of my partners unless we're together in person or if there are logistics needing sorted. We have our weekly date night and hang out from time to time outside of that night, but we don't text or call just to talk. If I go on vacation, he doesn't expect me to check in with him. We've been together more than a decade and this works for us. OP has not been voicing his needs to his soon-to-be ex. She should not be expected to read his mind. If he was acting like he was fine, seemed like he was totally accepting of Polly and her other relationships, how the hell is she supposed to coddle his emotions? I expect my partners to loop me into their emotional needs. I'm autistic. I refuse to let people guilt me for taking them at their word and not reading their mind. If you need something in a relationship, it's your job to make that need known to your partner. He replies, yeah, we're both pretty independent people. She sent a text to let me know that they've arrived safely, and I'm not expecting us to get in touch much more than a good morning, love you text here and there. I agree with your second point. I think I was too defensive in my post, and now people are saying she's abusive or narcissist, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's just tricky to voice your insecurities about imbalance as the man in a hetero open relationship without feeling like you're coming off as whiny. Especially since I wasn't really jealous about her having sex at all, but rather the mismatch in opportunities, which she can't do much about. And these feelings basically disappeared when I managed my own flings. Until we moved to Polly, of course, but I should have really ended things at that point. And edit, thanks for the feedback. I'll be home to have the talk with her when she comes back. No point ruining her vacation. I'm also slowing down on the moving stuff out part. I was being dramatic, and we can sort how we split some things out. Okay, now for an update. I received a few requests for an update, so here's a follow-up to my post. As I said, I slowed down moving my things out to my parents and waited for her to get home to avoid ruining her vacation. She came back Thursday night, the week of the previous post, and I went to meet her at the train station. She had her partner still with her, but I managed to get her home. We had the talk. This was my biggest breakup to date, so it got a bit emotional on both ends. She basically offered to slow down with her other partners, then monogamy. I declined and went to sleep at my parents'. There's not much else to say. It wasn't super dramatic in the end. We've spent the past 10 days figuring out the logistics. But as someone who lurked on this sub for a long time, this was my first time confronting the advice given here to a real-life situation. If you're thinking of posting here too, keep in mind that there's a lot of noise. People projecting, people who have it out against non-monogamy, and also E&M people that are a bit disconnected from the broader mono world. Not to say that there wasn't any useful comments, especially the people who talked about being ghosted by their live-in partner. I've never planned to not have a talk in person, but these comments really helped empathize with her perspective the most, I think. Anyways, thank you. Some final comments. Quote, she basically offered to slow down with her other partners, then monogamy. I declined and went to sleep at my parents'. She was offering that to appease you, not necessarily because she actually wanted to. Good move on letting it go. After reading your initial post, the thing that I saw that was concerning was her jealousy when you finally started to see someone, even though she'd been seeing several people. I don't think this is how it all works, and that wouldn't have meshed well. You would not have been comfortable. I hope your new relationship is a great one. Someone replies, I don't think this is fair at all. Opie didn't want polyamory, but made little efforts to directly communicate. He's avoidant, refused to communicate, and built resentment. He should have sat his partner down way earlier than this point and been clear that polyamory was the boundary. To me, her saying she's willing to be mono just shows the stupidity of avoidant communication. She clearly is in some way willing to renegotiate the terms of the relationship. OP just didn't try. I don't get it. He built up resentment until he basically couldn't stand her. Grow up. Also, yes, you dating someone hits you very differently than your partner dating someone. He had time to work through his big emotions surrounding new partners. This was her first instance. She too needs practice, building coping skills, etc. This is a brand new position for her to be in. Of course, there will be insecurities. OP gave her no time to work those out. To which OP replies, I agree that I'm not the best at communicating, but always being the one that has to ask for things to slow down is not fun either. It makes you come off as whiny. And it was the same during that conversation. She didn't say she wanted monogamy. She offered to go monogamous if I wanted. Like I'm always the one that has to ruin the fun in the end. Also, she's not abusive or narcissist like some people were claiming in my first post, but she had 1 year since I met my new partner to learn how to deal with jealousy. She was okay-ish when I was just hooking up with random people, but I truly don't think she can handle her primary seriously dating someone else. In the end though, I think you're right. I should have pumped the brake on Polly a long time ago and just dealt with being the boring, insecure one. OP, when you were talking before you finally left, did you mention her apparent jealousy about your mention of your newfound relationship? If so, did she say anything about it? OP says, I didn't tell her we were going mono. We're keeping that to ourselves until I'm fully moved out. No point creating more drama over something that is just none of her business. Yeah, and talk about drama. That post is filled with it. I mean, I've said it once and I'll say it again, but I really don't get it. Polly just seems like voluntarily juggling several people's emotions at the same time, which just seems like a lot of stress to me. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Let me know down below. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.